Gamers, welcome to the channel and welcome to the first episode of the series Boss is Easy Actually, where we're going to go through all the bosses in Honkai Star Rail and break down their mechanics, easy strategies so that you can get the W. Now, I wanted to start with Pollux for a few reasons. Obviously, recency bias is a thing, right? Pollux is the most recent boss we've got in Honkai Star Rail, but I also think Pollux is just really interesting because, on one hand, Pollux is my favorite boss so far. I think its mechanics and their design are very well done, and there's a clear punishment for not adhering to them. You can very quickly get overwhelmed in the Pollux fight if you're not paying attention to what's going on and find that the mechanics are stacking up on you. But also, if you do the mechanics properly and you plan for them, the fight is really easy and that feels really rewarding, which I think is cool. On the other hand, I think Pollux has a massive problem with shilling, and it's probably the most egregious example of this we've had in Honkai Star Rail. But if you have certain units like Castris, Hyacinth, Maide, or even Blade and Jingliu to some extent, your experience fighting Pollux is going to be night and day compared to someone who doesn't have these units. And you're just going to be able to ignore a lot of the mechanics that Pollux has. It's for that reason that I think a lot of people are struggling with Pollux. A lot of people are having difficulties, because if you're watching a streamer play this fight and they have Castris or they have Hyacinth, there are going to be things just not happening. There are going to be mechanics that they are just completely avoiding because the boss is shielded towards these units. And it makes it kind of difficult to extrapolate the information that you need to by just watching people play it. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the fight. We're going to take it real slow. This is not a zero cycle. We're not brute forcing it. And we're going to walk through all of the mechanics and how to deal with them. So in this showcase, I'm running a Naxa Hypercarry with Sunday, Robin, and then we have a Lingsha as our sustain. You do need a sustain for this fight. There is a mechanic in the fight that heals you with the damage that you do, but there's also a mechanic that reduces the damage you do, so reduces your healing. Just run a sustain, honestly. Now, the reason I'm running Lingsha in this showcase in particular is because Luocha, who I run for comfort, is another unit that kind of just ignores half of the mechanics in the fight. So I wanted to pick a sustain here where I actually have to make the decision to heal, and that way I can show you when you have to heal, if that makes sense. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so straight away as we enter the fight, there are a few things that happen that we need to pay attention to. The first is this icon right here, which we'll call the purple state. When Pollux is in the purple state, Pollux and its arms take 90% less damage. So you want to get out of this state as fast as possible. Pollux leaves this state when this number hits 100, and the number increases based on the damage done to allies. Now, if you think back a minute ago when I said that this fight was really shielded towards Castris, this is why. Because Castris can consume her own and allies' HP, she basically just completely ignores this state, and you can instantly go up to 100. But because we don't have Castris on this team, we can't ignore the state, and right now we are dealing 90% less damage to the boss. The other thing that happens in this state is this debuff right here called Hasten Death. Now, Hasten Death is just applied to allies when Pollux deals damage. It's not a huge deal. It's honestly not something you have to super worry about. It's an unremovable dot that deals damage to the target based on their current health, and it can't kill them. This dot on its own isn't something you really have to worry about because it can't kill you. But it's important just to keep in mind, because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to take a turn, take damage from the dot, not be healed, and then be killed by another ability because you weren't healed from the dot's damage. Honestly, this doesn't happen very often because the dot doesn't deal that much damage, but it's just something to keep in mind. Another thing that's kind of nice is that the damage you take from this dot actually increases the counter in the purple state. So whenever an ally takes a turn, they will take damage and the number will increase. So right now we can't deal any damage. We don't want to be wasteful of our skill points, of our ults, and we're just going to go ahead and play out the fight until we reach 100.
Harmony and unity. May the foul stench dissipate quickly. Yeah.
What's the matter?
So as you can see, allies are taking a turn, they're taking a hit from the dot, the number's going up. Now, as a little side note here, I am ulting it's not going to do any damage. I'm just ulting for the toughness bar reduction and for the weakness implant because it's an AXA. Okay, so we are at 98. It's about to be Pollux's turn, meaning that after this attack from an AXA, Pollux is going to reach 100
If you still have
and enter
questions,
the pink state.
speak up. To the soul. It's of no consequence.
Okay, so a lot of things just happen at once. First, and most importantly, we can now deal damage to Pollux. Okay, Pollux has left the purple state, we've entered the new pink state, and in this state, we can deal damage to Pollux, and dealing damage to Pollux will also heal allies. Awesome. The number is now counting down from 100 to 0, or from 99, and the number goes down based on the damage that you do to Pollux or the arms. Nothing much happens when you reach 0 in this state. Pollux just gets a hit of damage and exits the state. The other big important thing happening in this state is this debuff right here. So when Pollux enters this state, Pollux inflicts this debuff on all ally targets, which reduces their damage done by up to 90% based on their missing health. You can see this debuff here, it's called Indulging Slumber. We're at 51% reduced damage right now, but that's because Lingsha's summon healed us after we took the damage, reducing us to 1 health. If we were still at 1 health, all of our allies would do 90% reduced damage right now. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, this is the state where we want to do as much damage to Pollux as possible, so we want to clear this debuff as fast as possible so that we can deal more damage. But also, you'll remember I mentioned that we heal off of damaging Pollux in this state. And if we're dealing less damage to Pollux, we're also going to be healing less. So it's really important that you use your sustain abilities here, right now, as fast as possible to clear this debuff. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to skill on Lingsha, and then we're going to ult.
Everything in this world is bleeding.
And now the debuff has been completely cleared from all allies. Okay, now there's nothing to worry about, and we are ready to just go ham and hit Pollux with everything we have. Again, friendly reminder, this is not a 0 cycle, we're just going for a nice comfortable clear.
All things.
So we're about to reach 0 in the pink state, and you'll see that once we reach 0, the state will be dispelled, and Pollux will take a nice big chunk of damage.
Insanity. Insanity.
Oh, unlucky. Okay, so now that we're in phase 2,
Strife in the world.
at this point in the fight, there is no difference to phase 1. The fight plays exactly the same as what we just experienced. We're in the purple state right now. The goal is to get it to 100 as fast as possible, and then we can deal a lot of damage to Pollux. Where this phase changes is when Pollux enters the pink state. When Pollux enters the pink state, they're going to begin charging up an ultimate attack, which we'll talk about in a minute, and we're also not going to be able to reduce their toughness bar until they take an action. So let's keep going in the fight until we get to 100. There we go.
Allow me to
So as you can see, we're in the pink state, and now in phase 2, we can't reduce Pollux's toughness bar. So there is no way to stop Pollux from attacking us when it reaches their turn. Now this is important in phase 2 because in phase 2 they charge their ultimate attack, which you can see here in the turn order. And the ultimate attack is an ultimate attack. It does a shit ton of damage. If you're interested, if you go into Pollux's abilities, you will see here, Death wishes for more death. This is the big boy. So if you're full health and you're comfortable when this ability hits, it's nothing to worry about. It's not going to kill you. However, if you're low, it will kill you. And if you have this debuff, it will deal more damage. So it's really important right now, even more than in phase 1, that we heal up to full as fast as possible. Now, at this point in the fight, I could Robin ult, and we would avoid the ultimate attack. I would be able to kill him before it hits, but I want to show you the attack, so we're not going to do that. We're going to hold the ult.
With this divine power, I refresh things.
Heard the call. Head down, farewell.
To the soul. Insanity.
And here we go. It's Big Boy. So as you can see, it does a shit ton of damage. If you're not full, you're in trouble. So you really want to make sure, if you're not able to kill Pollux before that ability hits, just make sure you're full health. And that's it. That's the whole fight. We can go ahead and just kill Pollux now. No problem. We'll do a little Robin ult for style.
May the foul stench hit.
A little Lingsha basic.
What's the matter? To the soul. Insanity. Look, with this divine power, I reforge
Very
all
nice.
things.
And then for style points, we're going to turn off the fast play. And we're going to let Anaxa send us home.
Straight to the soul.
And that is why Pollux is easy. Actually.